Hello everyone! Welcome to my video about playing meta in Yu-Gi-Oh! I have a few arguments I want to make for it, and to start out I want to debunk some of the points people have against playing meta, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions going around. The first one of those is that there's no creativity. This is true to a small extent, because obviously if you want to play the best decks you have to choose out of some of the best decks, meaning that you can't play Dark Magician. But I'd argue that there is about as much creativity in building meta decks as there is in building any other deck. Because if you're building Mikanko, which is a very goofy deck, you're obviously going to put in the good cards and not play the bad cards. And if you play the bad cards, then you're losing. And this is very similar to how it works to build meta decks. The creativity is in choosing out of the different options you have. There's extra deck cards you can play tech cards, you can choose your non-engine lineup, you can choose your ratios. And once you give it a shot and really play around with it, you're gonna realize that there is miles of differences between one Malice deck and another Malice deck and one Draco Tail deck and another one. And this isn't even getting into sub-engines. Then another thing with creativity is that even if you have two people with the same deck, good decks often have so many options in the way you play them that you actually get to express your style as a player of what things you'd respect in actual gameplay. And this is a creativity that you don't really get when you're playing weaker decks that are stuck to their linear lines of play. The other argument people have against playing meta or just the strong decks in general is that games are super swingy and they're over in 2 turns and you don't really get to play back and forth Yu-Gi-Oh! And this is a point I don't really agree with, because most of these non-games, as you say, where no real game happened, is when there's a big disparity between the deck going first and the deck going second in competence and power. For example, if Malice goes first in the mirror match, you're probably winning, because Malice is way better at going first than at going second. The same goes for if you're playing a Tenpai mirror match, where you have a deck that can only go second, meaning that the deck going second is probably winning. And this concept extends to if you are playing, let's say, Dark Magician versus Draco Tail. There, Draco Tail is better at going second than Dark Magician is at going first, and so the game is going to end quickly and it's not going to be very interesting. But a lot of very interesting and intense games can happen when you have a deck that's really good at going first against a deck that's also good at going second. So for example, the match I'm going to show you later today, to show this example, I am on a combination of Mitsurugi and Raizeel, which is a deck that's very good at going second. And my opponent is on Branded Draco Tail, a deck which is good going first but not overwhelmingly so. Which means that even though I do not hand trap them a lot, there is a very interesting and intense game to be had. The last point I want to address before we get to the gameplay part of the video is that some people claim that meta decks just play themselves and there's no skill expression. And I really don't think that's true. I feel every Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck, maybe besides Stun, but even there, have a lot of skill expression that's possible. You have decks like, in the past, Fiendsmith Snake Eye or Tenpai, Raizeel Pure to an extent, which have a very linear game plan where it's just summon a guy, search a guy, summon a guy, search a guy, overlay them for a guy, and you really have a lot of extenders that allow you to do the exact same thing every game. That's misleading, because the creativity and the skill expression isn't when you execute your linear combo, it's how you use the interruptions you gain from your combo going first, and then just how you deal with interruptions going second, and just interruptions in general. And this applies to a lot of decks, especially since these decks are good engines. That means if they get interrupted, your turn doesn't end. This means that you can really push into interruptions, and you have a lot of options again to choose from to express how good you are as a player. A deck I like, which is Rogue, is Rescue Ace. And often you don't have a lot of skill expression with the deck, because you summon your 1-card starter, and then you pray that your opponent can't stop it. because if they can't stop it, you get to do your combo, but if he gets stopped, you lose. And there isn't much way to express that you're a good player if you just lose after the first interruption. Anyways, let's get over to the gameplay part of the video. Hello again. First, I'll give you a rundown of this hand and the matchup and the situation, and then we're just gonna look through the games and see how it goes. Starting out, this hand is kind of the reason why this deck isn't top of the meta. We have just one card that off the rip can do something. This is a trap which you don't want to draw. This card is a starter, but not the best one. This needs the opponent to activate a monster effect to do anything. This is a hand trap which is good, but not really good enough, as if it's just one, you typically want to draw multiple. This is the best monster in my deck, but because it's a ritual monster, I also need access to a ritual spell to summon it. So, if you're just doing typical one card combo math, I'm playing with a one card hand here. But that's not how you play this deck and how it works in practice. Our opponent is on Branded Dracotail. Branded Fusion, a very powerful spell, gets checked by my Ash Blossom. From here, he has the starter and he can do his combo. He does it in an unintuitive way, but it doesn't really matter how he does it here, because he ends on the typical pure Dracotail endboard without the brand spell. So let's just speed through this. Here we are again. He has set what I at this point assume to be all 3 Dracotail traps. The monsters do nothing on the field. He has a 5 mana in hand, and I assume also a pan to destroy a monster. And I drew Forbidden Droplet off the top, which is a useful card for going second, because it can send cards on my field to the graveyard to avoid interaction from the traps, and also then negate certain monsters he controls. But because I know most of his hand, I can assume that he has no hard negates for my Ryseals, which means I can just summon him and get X-Ryseal, which is the best card in my deck. He, you're gonna see here, summons himself by sending an extra deck monster from the extra deck to the graveyard. As you can see, this requires level 5 monsters, which I don't have, but I never summon him. Instead, I use his graveyard effect to destroy face down cards, and because both his summon and the graveyard effect are trigger effects, this serves double duty because it also chain blocks your X-Ryseal search, meaning that if he had an Ash Blossom or a Dominus Purge or something like that, he wouldn't even be able to negate this. And from here, because I know he has no hard negates, I can just make Evil Storm Extaton, who is very cool because he just wipes the field. It has the downside that he takes no more damage the turn this happens, but this typically shouldn't matter because from that position I can just combo off. Well, combo off is a word. Because I used my normal summon on Sword Ryseal, I can't go into Ice Ryseal, which is another one of the main deck monsters, which is typically like the best one to start with rather. So I'm just forced to go into Detonator here and do a Cosmetic Punch, and then here I set the Forbidden Droplet and click End Phase, because, well, first of all, it's just the best thing I can do, but secondly, I know he has the 5 mana and he wants to use her to destroy the set card before I can activate it, and this is, in a way, a good play on its own, but also a bait to activate Triple Tactic Thrust. He summons the Gulamel here, and from this position I can now chain the Detonator to his effect to destroy the Gulamel, which stops him from attempting to destroy the Detonator. He sets the trap, but now I can do my Mitsurugi half because I can use triple tactic thrust to get free preparation of rights and just go off here. Study, pick up a ritual. But I do make a mistake here, and that is not just stopping here. I could have used the prayers to tribute the Futsu, bring back the Saji, make another rank 4 here, and get another search with the Futsu, which would have probably been the trap, and then use Miro tributing Habakiri to get another search for another prayers, which would have made the following sequence much easier for me. So here we shuffle back and forth a bit, he thinks I destroy stuffy potentials. But now, suddenly, this is not looking too good for me, because I have him for interaction, him for follow-up, because he summons back guys from the graveyard, and one more destroy effect from the detonator, and he's on a 4-card hand with a known branded fusion. So this is suddenly very scary. So here the Gulamel even returns. I can pick back up the cards. He summons the Frixo. I destroy the Gulamel here because he needs to chain directly to a Draco Tail effect to destroy one of my cards. I don't want him to destroy the prayers, so I need to get rid of the Gulamel here. From here, one thing is he can't banish cards, so that's not a mistake. Here goes 5 mana and some stuff, and here I want to get rid of the Secretariat Dragon before he can use it to summon back a Cartesia or a Frixel or even Luke. I think he would summon back the Lucius, but I want to stop that. So I tribute the Murakumo, add me the Alamasa, follow up, activate his trigger effect to get another prayers, and then I'm gonna destroy the field. He banishes the Murakumo, and he has the Rahu Draco Tail, which lets him extend further. But now he is pretty much fully out of gas. I get searches, and he made a critical mistake. I'm just gonna show it to you here because it's kind of funny. He used the Urgulus effect to set a Draco Tail spell trap. So when it's sent to grave at a student material, blah blah blah, you can set a Draco Tail spell trap from deck. And if you do, then you can destroy one spell trap on the field. In the simulator, this works like you click yes, use effect to set, and then you need to click no. He probably, because maybe he was a bit low on time or stressed because there's a full board, he probably clicked yes again, and then was forced to destroy his own trap, which then made him concede. It wouldn't have made a difference because from this position on, basically this is just 2 or 3 summons to put everything in attack mode and win. So for him there's no real point in playing this out any further. So good game to him in game 1. Going into game 2, my hand is a lot better. I have the Ritual, which doesn't do anything on its own, but I have the pre-preparation of rights, which is effectively Pot of Greed, but it searches you 2 cards for ritual monsters. This is insane. I get the Sword Rising again, which is, as I said, not really the guy you want to start with, but also he gets the job done. Evenly Matched is a powerful board breaker, which will be my win condition here. So I'm going to use my Ryziels to attempt to bait out his spell negate, so that I can then resolve the Evenly Matched. And Triple Tactic Thrust is a wild card that's gonna be able to again just get me any of my spells, which are the best cards in my deck. My opponent this time has a much better hand, because he can start with Fallen of the White Dragon and just go for this Ecclesia, which is very powerful. So he can just go off, and we're gonna skip through this again. So see you in a bit. Back to my turn. He has the field full of cards. 10 cards on field, 4 cards on hand. This is just crazy. But it does seem that he's not playing the third Draco Tail trap, because I didn't see him set it up anywhere. So we have Flame here, Horn here, Rahu Draco Tail here. Just follow up, I guess. And then we have the Fallen and the Virtuous here, which can destroy a card on my field. This can fuse on my turn to make something like Chaos Star Scourge Dragon. This can summon a guy that then fuses with my monsters. He has a 5 mana in hand to make a big Eartha Lion to bounce on my cards. Well, I couldn't use, and he says I can't use dragons or spellcasters on the field, but I don't use them, and then the scariest part is he's gonna get 2 draws of these, which are probably gonna be powerful hand traps, which I don't want to deal with. Uwalos is good because many of his disruptions are fusion summons, which will let me draw. So we're just gonna go start like last game. Sword Ryzeal, get X'd, and challenge the Draco Tail Flame here. He uses Horn right away, which is smart, to bounce my Sword Ryzeal, which is the wrong one. Because he sees if he lets me get 2 4s on the field, I'm just gonna make Exciton. So in hindsight, maybe Exciton was the better move, but at the same time, Evenly Matched is just so powerful that I don't really need my Battle Phase here. So I go Battle Phase, he doesn't let me crash the small one, so I crash into the big one. I need to control no cards to be able to activate it from hand. And this is powerful because it forces him to banish cards face down, which means they can never return to play. And this means that the Ecclesia here, the Cartesia here, the Phrixo, they all have effects that let them return or give him benefits if they're used for something. But now they're banished face down, same as the Rahu Draco Tail, which means they can never return and never be used for advantage. Now we're in main phase 2, he has a guy on field that has just attack stat and 5 hand cards, which is scary, but this is workable. I can special summon the sword for free from hand, because that's one of his abilities. And I can special the Node Ryzeal, and he goes 5 mana for Pan and Kulamel. Gives me a draw here, but also destroys both of my monsters to stop me from going into Ryzeal plays. Here I grab myself the Triple Tactic Talents and rip a card from his hand to just make sure he doesn't have an Ash Blossom to negate this card. Another small detail is both of his traps are in the graveyard, which means he can't get them back, because the traps shuffle each other back into the deck. So on follow-up turns, he's not going to be able to set up much interruptions, especially because he is through probably 1 copy of Bulamel as well, and the Cartesia and Ecclesia are both banished. So even if he would be able to play next turn, this is going to be hard for him. However, I have the pre-preparation of Rites, which now resolve just uninterrupted. And from this position, I can set up pretty much the full Mitsurugi end board. And that means he has a very low likelihood of being able to win. Again, Norikumo's ripping cards from his hand. There isn't much to save from here. As he plays, I get to summon. And yeah, and he now just realized this is just gonna be like the full end board against my 2 hand cards, and chooses to surrender. Again, GG. Hello again. Here I made a small presentation on explaining a few of the factors that actually allowed me to win here. First of all, the Ryzeal cards helped me check the trap cards. This was probably clear in the video already, but I wanted to emphasize it again. Detonator, every time he activates a card, destroys a card he controls, which would stop the targeting effects of the traps. And if he activates 1 trap, I then chain it to destroy another trap, which just makes it super inefficient to use them. Then Ryzeal was able to also check one of the traps, and this is super important because these traps not only let him negate my cards, but they also recycle his own cards and draw cards. So every trap you negate basically is a 3-for-1 positive for you. And the deck is built around the traps being this powerful, so preventing them is also really powerful here. Then Murakumo said, tasty hand cards you got there, nom 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 nom, and just ate them all. Because he forces the opponent to discard a card once per turn when they try to activate effect or the effect is negated. So if you use this on something the opponent really doesn't want to get negated, it just forces them to discard something. And over the long run, this forces 2 discards and 3 discards, and then suddenly, oh damn, I've got no hand cards left. And once there's no hand cards, it's just a straight up Omni negate. So here I was again winning in card advantage by getting his hand size and the cards on field really low. And then lastly, the Futsu, I've got a solo leveling reference here, just said Arise. Because every time the opponent special summons a monster, he also special summons one from grave, and they all search something, and they all are just bodies on field that can be used as material. So again, he is losing out in card advantage because I get things on board and things in hand every time he does something. So he summons a guy and gets 2 searches, I summon a guy and get a search, but he had to invest cards and I had to invest nothing to get these searches. And then sometimes these cards I summon also lead to more disruptions because they can prevent destruction effects and they stop him from killing me in battle, which then means I'm gonna survive and have pretty much all my Mitsurugi pushes in hand and a full field of material, which is virtually impossible to stop. And so I was able to close out the game, not through stopping him from playing completely, but from out-advantaging him and winning in card advantage. Hello, and welcome to the outro. I hope you enjoyed the video. As you can see, I'm in my editing software here, because I forgot to record the outro in my green screen room. So you get to see my cool timeline here. This is a lot of cuts, because that's how videos work. And I want to thank you so much if you watched it this far. I'm new to this YouTube thing and every viewer and every subscriber means a lot to me. Because I want to eventually get to a point where I can make great videos that make a lot of people happy and give them enjoyable things to watch while eat or while you're just doing anything else or just spending your whole attention on the video for once. Yeah, so thank you so much for watching till the end, and I hope you have an amazing day. See you!